And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey! Have you ever been at the airport and thought, what a marvelous time we're having? It's so exciting to run and catch planes. Well, okay, probably not. In fact, most of the people I see at the airports are usually somewhat unhappy. However, this game which we're talking about today, Planes, which is a sequel of sorts to AEG's Trains, although the games have nothing to do with each other than that their names rhyme, and if you put them together, they're 2/3 of a movie title. But I get cracked up by this picture here in the rule book where these people look like they're having the time of their life at the airport. Well, anyhow, this game is about doing that. It's about running through an airport trying to catch your flight. Seems like an interesting idea for a theme. I'll give them credit for that. Doesn't seem like something that's fun in real life, but you can take things in real life that aren't fun and make them fun as a board game. Let's see if this one does that. The board of the game is an airport like this, and you have different airplanes. Each player is going to have an airplane of their color. If there's a player not playing, you'll flip the airplane of that color over, so it basically becomes a neutral airplane. And there's 2 neutral airplanes here too, as long as some neutral passengers who are running around, and then 5 passengers of your color who you're trying to get into your plane. And again, if someone's not playing, then all their passengers also become neutral. Now, you're going to have some cards in your hand, and at the beginning of your turn, of the 3 cards that you start with, you can play one of them as a special thing. You can ignore blockages, you can score a card, you can move any 2 of your party to a fine dining restaurant. Well, which is a fine dining restaurant? Well, each person gets a ticket, which oddly enough, they are actually perforated here. Really taking me self-control not to bend or tear them, because you could do so. But anyhow, you look in here, and this shows you the symbol for a fine dining restaurant. You then look on the board, there's a fine dining restaurant, there's a fine dining restaurant. So I can move 2 of my people there. So let's say I play that card, and I am the red player. So I move 2 of them to a fine dining restaurant. Now, on your turn, you pick up a group of cubes on one space that includes at least one of yours. So I could pick up these 3 here, and then I can move them. When I move them, I have to leave 1 cube in each spot that I'm moving to. So I could say 1, 2, and 3. Or I could say 1 and then drop both cubes off in that spot there. On a future turn, I might pick up all these guys here and drop 1, 1, 1. And I can pick which colors I drop anywhere. Like that. It's up to me how I drop them. Now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get people to their planes. Specifically, I'm trying to get my people to my planes, or the neutral guys to their planes. I don't really care about the other players in the game. If you're able to do that, let's say the green player, it's his turn, and he picks these up here. He drops 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. 1 cube he has left over, so he can drop that one there, which is the landing gate for his. It has to be exactly 1 cube. When that happens, his guy gets in the plane and he's going to score 5 points at the end of the game. Meanwhile, we have inadvertently done something terrible here. Here we have 7 cubes. This has now become a blockage. Nobody can move by this. You can move the cubes that are there. You can move up to that spot and drop your cubes off, making it a worse blockage, but you can't move through it. The game comes with quite a few of these, although I have no idea how you'd ever have more than 4 of them on the board. That would just be insanity. Now, at the end of your turn, you may play another card from your hand and score a point. This says if there is 1 cube of any color in a spot, I put this card in front of me and I get a point. Well, that one's no good. This one here says feasted at a fine dining restaurant. Well, that meant I have 2 of my cubes at a fine dining restaurant. If I did that, I could put this in front of me and get 3 points. Here, there's 1 space with 4 neutral guys in it. If that's true, I'd get 3 points. So there's all different sorts of things that can give you points. Here's 4 exactly, and they could be any color, including the neutrals. That would give me 3 points. Here, at least one of my dudes went to the bathroom. Here I have 4, but it's only 2 different colors in one spot. So it's interesting. You can get different points that way. the game will continue. Now, when you get a neutral guy to his plane, you get to draw 2 cards. At the end of your turn, you don't draw cards unless you have no cards. Then you draw back up. Otherwise, you don't draw. So the game kind of forces you to use your cards and doesn't give you a chance to draw many back up. This continues until either one person gets all their people on the plane, or, if you'll notice here at the bottom, every time someone gets on the plane, we mark this track, and when it reaches the end of that track, the game will end. You'll get 5 points for each person you have in a plane, plus points for all the cards that you've scored in front of you. You also have the option of playing on the other side of the board, the Zephyr Airport, which kind of has a crisscross method here with the planes, and you can always put your planes in different spots. The game also comes with different markers, so if you want to, you can mark where the different things. My gift shop's in the middle now, which can change some of the way the game goes. Most importantly, the game comes with an option down here. If you notice, there's colored dots in the corners of the cards. You can have your own deck. Each person can have their own identical deck of cards to draw from, rather than one big deck. If this seemed familiar to you, that's because it's based on Mancala, which is one of the most popular, I guess, or most well-known games in existence. Certainly one of the oldest, and certainly one that people play quite a bit in many different countries, where you're picking up and you can go to stones and dropping them in different bowls, and you can go to many places. This is definitely based on that mechanism. In fact, it's so close to it that I'm basically saying that this is Mancala with cards, because really that's what it is. Now, I will say that I really think the option where you have your own deck of cards is critical to playing this game at any kind of strategic level. That gives everyone the same cards. Sure, they come in your hand randomly, but somebody else won't get 2 of the same card and be able to score twice in a row for having done the same thing, 3 points. And also some of the cards, like this one lets you move backwards, that's pretty good. This one you can move only your own people, which can be pretty critical. This one lets you draw 3 cards and discard 1. Again, if someone gets multiples of the same and you don't get those, it could skew the results a little. The game is very tactical, not strategic at all. It's just straight tactical, because there's really no reason to do any sort of planning ahead, because you don't know what your opponent will do. In a 2-player game, it works better, but in a 4-player game, I mean, you move and then just wait, because you can't really set yourself up. Your opponents are probably going to mess it up somehow by dropping cubes in there. So what you're doing on your turn is you are trying to figure out if you can do something well, or maybe get yourself into a better position, but also, am I leaving my opponents any chance to score? Must not do that. The blockages part is fun, where you can, just put these big crowds of people, and it's fun that you can really mess over the other players. That being said, I didn't really like the game, and there's a couple reasons for that. One, I feel like the game is anti-thematic. What I mean is, I understand there's lots of games with paper-thin themes, and that's fine. But in this one, the theme doesn't make much sense. You're running around the airport in this circle, and if you miss your plane, you got to run around again. And then you run around again. And meanwhile, you get points for going over eating the gift shop when you're supposed to be on your plane. These are minor things, but it just doesn't work thematically like it should. It feels like it's Mancala, and they thought, oh, okay, we'll do an airplane theme on top of that. Secondly, I just was kind of frustrated by simply the randomness of the cards. Even when separated into their own deck, simply all your plans and everything you do doesn't really matter because of what the people before you do. And so I just kind of sit there and wait quietly for my turn, which could stretch out a while because people can think for a long time. You have to think of every single permutation, and this game has some analysis paralysis. The game, it says on it, 30 minutes, which is possible, and you can play it quickly in that regard, especially with 2 or 3 players. If you play 4 players, you could be sitting there a long time. If someone has any kind of, they have to sit there and you can count out every move, and they can figure out the best move. And it's kind of boring because I can't plan ahead at all, really. I have to wait till my turn to see what's even available. And then what I do is kind of wrapped up in these cards, and the cards can get you more points than actually landing on the planes can. So, just wasn't very fond of this one. I understand that some people will enjoy it, and there will be some folks who get a kick out of it, and it's very well designed and put together and easy to set up, easy to teach, easy to play. And if you like Mancala, you may enjoy this. I was never a huge Mancala fan anyway. But this one just, I don't know. I mean, again, I'm not trying to compare it to Trains. Trains was like this rousing success, so much fun. This one's more of a, kind of a, it was okay, but let's move on to the next thing. But I'll give them points for at least trying a new and different theme. Dice Tower Judgment.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.
Good.